Hey, hi everyone. This is Gaurav Karoliwal, and I'm managing AI ML development and deployment in Ericsson. And basically, it's a telecom domain where we are trying to apply artificial intelligence, machine learning to level up the automation's complete journey. So, in this discussion today, we are gonna have see that what are the frameworks that we are using that is helping the automation to move from level 1 to level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. And it's a kind of autonomous operations journey where we are in. So on the back days, means almost 18 years ago, when we started this journey in telecommunication, at the time, it was like that one knock engineer was there who was monitoring the alarms, and then he was raising the tickets in the service decks and all. But now the scenario has completely changed. Now in telecom and maybe in other domains as well, it's like that. Machines are collecting the data, they are making decisions, they are detecting what are the anomalies, what are the deviations are there, and then they are prescribing that what actions can be taken. In fact, in some scenarios, we have the closed loop automations in place, which is like, it's a zero touch operations. No one need to do anything for the various processes. The things are autonomously happening. So let's see in the presentation that how we can correlate with the different things. And because telecom is a vast domain. So let's get on to this presentation. So very first thing is that why autonomous operations is important, right? Because we all know that telecom is a kind of, since the beginning, it's more than 150 years old domain where what we are talking here, because it is started with the landline phones, then we moved to mobility, then 2G technology came, then 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G is also there, on which we are working. So along with this journey of 150 years, what happened is that the different vendors, different manufacturers have come up with their own technology and the tools. So if we talk about the tool set in telecom, it is quite diversified. We have variety of tools, more than 300, 400 type of tools are there, which are being used to manage the network. So, the day by day, the year by year, the complexity has been increasing. So it's become very inevitable that there must be one framework which would apply to any of the telecom network to qualify it for the autonomous operations. So there are certain standards that has been formed that we call the TMF, TM forum, different level of autonomy, and that's what we are trying to achieve from this. So here in this presentation, we are going to discuss that what is that framework and how it can be applicable in the various scenarios, and what are the innovations that we have come up with the help of this framework, and how it will be useful. So as per the study from the various companies, it is found that 60% of telcos aim to reach level 3 of autonomy by 2028. And that way, they are going to save certain money, certain benefit they are going to get. Around $203 million of savings are anticipated if they move from level 2 to level 3 only. And in this TM forum, we have levels from up to 5. So, if they move to level 2, level 3 to level 4, they would gain around $300 million. So it's a huge benefit that altogether that we can get. So I would say that it's just a beginning, and most of the operators across the globe are on the level 2 currently, right? And few means 50 or 60% are operators are on level 1, in fact. So we are just on the process of starting this journey. Most, if I talk about the industry wide, and few operators are leveling them up, and they are very much serious about that how they can bring this autonomous operations in their roadmap, in their strategy and all. There's one thing which confuses everybody, because as I mentioned that it is having a diversified tool set. So how to incorporate this framework in such a diversified environment where we have IoT, millions of devices of IoTs are there. We have 5G with its own complexity. We have 4G, 3G, 2G. So and the multiple domains are there. RAN domain is there, core is there, PBN, PCN, transmission, fix line, and all. So with all these, complex scenarios, how anyone can say that my network or any network is on level 2 or level 3, level 4, right? So there must be some standard to qualify for that. So we will see in the upcoming slides that how, with the help of this autonomous operations and with the help of the TM levels, how we can say that we are at level 2, level 3, level 4, or level 5, right? So not this autonomous operations or the different levels are going to bring operational efficiency and as well as the customer experience enhancement. So ultimately, the vision is like, my operation should be zero touch operation. There should not be any manual touch over there to handle the different incidents, handle the different issues which is persistent in the network. Not only it should be zero touch, but it should be minimizing the errors in the network, errors in the operation, so to give the full customer satisfaction, to give full customer experience across the network with the various complexities. So as I was talking that, in the telecom journey, when we started from 2G, network was quite simple. In 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G, we are getting complexity. So it has become impossible, quite impossible, for human to supervise the network. Means today the scenario is like that if someone is doing manual monitoring, we cannot find out all kind of deviations. We can find only the catastrophic deviations where we have certain impact in the network, like, if some cell site is down, you're not getting signals and all. But just to give you one flavor of it, like we are discussing, we are on our mobile network, or we are on the broadband network. If all of a sudden your speed is degraded, so telecom operator doesn't know about it. They would know about it only when you have the complete network down. But with the help of this autonomous operations, with the help of the machines making the decision and doing the scanning of the complete network on a minute to minute basis, it's very easy to report such incidents. Right. So I'm in the next slide, I'm going to show you that how this is going to be applicable for the different stages, like in the service planning, in the deployment, in maintenance, in optimization. So these are the four major categories of any telecom network. So in these different stages, how this autonomous operations, AO, TMF, and the zero touch operation would work. So how they have built it is like, they have divided these things in different processes. And if you can see here, we have the fault management processes, we have optimization process, routine maintenance process, then configuration management process. So all these processes, so one by one, there are different levels that they have defined, the different levels of autonomy in these processes. So once, for one individual process, if it reaches the level of autonomy of level 5, level 4, level 3, there are the different qualifying criterias for that. So accordingly, we can call it that my fault management process or any of the process is on which level. So now how would you qualify it? So this is a simple kind of framework that is being discussed and that is being formalized in TMF. So you can find the open source site of TM forum, and there you will be finding details about it. I have tried to make it simplified for this discussion, so that in one could understand it. Otherwise, it's very complex to understand this phenomena, this complete architecture. So how this is happening, right? So if we talk about the level zero, so level zero is complete manual, right? There are two major component: is your human intervention and your system is doing the things, right? So in level zero, all the stages, right from awareness, analysis, decision, execution, intent, all these stages are gonna be manually handled or the handled by the human. Then we have level 0. In level 1, what is happening that there's some part of execution and some part of awareness. Okay, let me first give you some kind of idea about these different levels, the categories, right? So our first category is awareness. Awareness is means collecting the required information, or collecting the data, collecting the counters, collecting KPIs, collecting whatever the details we require to further process it. Right. So in telecom, the familiar term is about collecting the incidents, collecting change data, collecting configuration data. Right. So sort of data we need to collect it. Earlier, what used to happen that someone has to log into a tool. They have to make some file format and they have to download it manually, and then they process it. But with the time, it is now like we have set up certain pipelines. Through pipelines, through probes and all, the data is coming on 15 minutes interval, data is coming on 2 minutes interval, 3 minutes interval, with the schedule, polling scripts and all. So that way it is automated. So if we have that at a certain level, right? So we have awareness, means the data collection at a certain level that is being conducted by a system, not only by human. We call it level 1, right? So if you are collecting the data based on certain scripts, based on certain pipelines, it would be calling, we will be calling it level 1. Be it any system, be it is IoT, be it 5G, 4G, 6G, 2G, and any other technology. Then comes to the next category, task category, that is analysis. Analysis is like we have collected the data, but what to do with that data means out of that data, if I need to know that what are the deviations, what are the degradations are happening, where we have the risk identified, where my um, you know mm, my trend is deviating from its regular trend, regular patterns and all. So kind of monitoring stuff, detecting something out of the given data. So that is something, if that is happening based on the machines, based on the system, right, automatically, or some part manually as well, then that stage is the analysis stage. And if we are doing analysis based on the system, and along with that we are doing execution. Execution is making changes in the network, that is the execution, right? So if execution is system wise, so and your analysis and awareness, right, your data collection and detection of the faults, detection of anything is happening manually, partially manually, and the partially machine or the fully machine, then we call it your level 2, right? So the example I was giving you of this current live webinar. So in this, let's suppose there are thousands of people who are watching this, right? And my system on the back end, they are identifying that okay, out of 1,000, 10 people are having issues with their bandwidth and all, right? So that detection is happening automatically based on certain system, certain script, certain software. So then this system would be called as level 2 system. Okay. Now gradually we are increasing. So on the level 3, what is happening? Your execution and awareness is completely through the system, and your analysis and decision making, right? So with the same example, like let's suppose system has identified that 5 people are having certain challenges with their data speed, but that's not enough. Means what next to be done? If you identify that 5 people are having the data challenges, what next actions to be taken? So if my system is intelligent enough to make a decision that what actions to be taken, right? Be it increasing the bandwidth, be it increasing the resource on the back end, be it increasing the power of the devices, power of the antenna, right? Or whatever the actions would qualify. So if my machine is making that action, and deciding that what actions to take, then it would qualify for level 3. So just to summarize you back everything, if we are collecting data through machines, if we are analyzing the data through machines, and if we are making decision through machines, and the execution through machine, right? So if out of these things, if we are taking help of machine instead of human intervention, then we would be qualifying that system as level 3. Okay. In the level 4, again we are leveling up. So up to level 3, we have automated the decision making, right? In the level 4, we are gonna do the execution, your analysis, your awareness, your detection, all through the system. There would not be any kind of manual intervention included there. Also, the one another component that is added in level 4, which is very interesting one, and that component is intent. Right. So on the same example, this example, so if my intent is that for half an hour, whoever connects to this webinar should be given, a guaranteed bit rate, a guaranteed speed, right? There should not be any deviation. So this is my intent. This intent I have given to a machine and given to a system, and system is ensuring that for this half an hour, whatever it takes, right? So I need to arrange resource, I need to increase power, decrease power, I need to balance the load, I need to do the backup planning and all. Everything, each and everything is being planned and executed by a machine, you know and assuring that whatever the intent was given, whatever the intent was registered, if that intent is completed or not, is accomplished or not, assurance of that. So if my machine is doing that assurance, be it manually or be it through the system, right, then we call it level 4, right? So there is slight difference between level 4 and level 5. When we move from level 4 to level 5, it is like complete intent registry, intent handling, and intent assurance is being handled through machine. There is no predefined actions, no predefined conditions, and no predefined automations are being fed to the machine. Machine is fully autonomous, right? I have given one intent that, during this webinar, just I've given one intent to a machine through a chatbot, let's suppose, right? So I've just written on the chat GPT kind of web page, and I've asked, I've given command to the machine through the intent is like that I want to maintain uh, 20 mbps of speed for this subscriber for half an hour during this webinar. It may be applicable to anything. I'm just giving you one example, right? So it is a kind of a special event handling through the intent. So if that intent is maintained across the cycle, right, awareness, analysis, detection, execution, and then complete intent assurance, if that is happening through a machine, then we call it level 5. And so far, we have reached in some of our innovations. Like I mentioned that there are so many processes in telecom, and out of that, there are few processes where we have reached up to level 4. Most of the processes are lying on level 2, but none of the process so far has reached up to level 5, right? So we are still on the journey, and level 5 standards are yet to be decided. But as a convention, as a generic framework, it is like it should the end-to-end cycle has to be managed through machine, right? The fully autonomous network. So once we'll be reaching it for most of the processes, then we would call that network is level 5 network. And most of the operator across the globe are dealing with this thing, right? They are increasing their level. If they are on level 1, they are trying to strive to reach to the level 2. If they are on level 2, they are strive to reach on level 3 with all the processes. So that's what we are trying to support based on our AI ML models that we are building for telecommunication network here. Right. So this is a kind of AI ops framework and the key challenges. Okay, so this is completely now so far I was talking about this TM forum and the different levels and how we can classify our network, how we can classify our processes for the different levels. Now let's come to the execution side of the things. So understanding it is one part, but once we go in the execution side of the things, we find altogether different type of challenges there. So the major challenges, because we have been dealing in this for last 6 7 years for this autonomous journey. Prior to that, it was like that we were building the standalone use cases in AI ML for telecommunication network and all. But since last 6 7 years, we are very much focused to move our operations from normal operation to zero touch operation. Right. So there was key challenges that we have faced in this journey. The very first challenge that is being faced is like the cost, the capex, right? So capex is very high because what we are trying to build here, that should support the cloud, that should be cloud native, right? And it must be supporting all kind of tools. More than 300 400 type of tools are there in telecommunication, and out of that more than 50% 60% are legacy tools. This is still there existing in the network. So how to integrate those tools? Their API management is becoming a tedious job, right? Setting up the pipeline from there, fetching the data from there. So it's still very complicated process and time consuming process, and it requires a lot of cost. Another main factor of cost is the data privacy and the security, right? So on the security side, for licensing the things, for setting up the secure pipeline and all, so that also takes a lot of cost and time and efforts as well. The third thing comes with the competence, right? So when we are talking about AI ML in telecommunication, so basically two major skills that must work together. The first is the understanding of data science and understanding of this telecom network. So both the things must give you must be there in order to bring up some kind of ideas, some kind of ideation that what needs to be developed, what not to be developed, that is there. Then the reusability factor, right? So once we develop one thing, one use case in AI ML, it has to be replicated in multiple other accounts. So the modularity comes in picture. So this reusability factors, most of the time we compromise when we use the services which are provided by the different cloud providers, right? So like Google Cloud is providing certain services, and AWS is providing, Azure is providing certain service components. So if we are using those component, then we become very much dependent on those components, and any kind of upgradation, any kind of change in the platform has to be strategized accordingly, and that consumes a lot of cost, and it gives it it is like that we don't get the free hand to scale up ourselves if we are dependent on one component of one cloud provider. So we should be very much careful when we are strategizing our architecture for AI Ops framework. So the strategy that we have adopted in order to mitigate these challenges is like, we definitely we wanted to go on cloud because it requires elasticity, it requires scaling up the platform, and it requires the cloud native application integrations and all. So we have procured one cloud environment from a cloud vendor. Then on top of that, on the application side, the development side, so the strategy was like to use the open source components. Like we are doing the scratch development in Python For increasing the processing speed, we are using the Spark as a component.